All right, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're looking into blueberry markets. I know they caught your eye, and I can totally see why. I mean, tight spreads, low minimum deposit, they've got both MT4 and MT5. It seems like just at first glance that they're ticking all the boxes.
Yeah, they definitely know how to make a good first impression. But I bet you want to be sure that this isn't just marketing smoke and mirrors, right?
Absolutely. We're going to dig a little deeper and see if they truly deliver on those promises. So, where should we start? Account types.
Sounds good to me. Always a smart starting point.
Okay, so they've got the standard account. It's commission-free, which is nice. And spreads start from 1.0 pip. Seems like a pretty solid deal, especially for someone just starting out, wouldn't you say?
Definitely a good option for beginners. Low risk, relatively straightforward. But then there's the raw account, and this is where it gets interesting.
Right, because they're advertising spreads as low as 0.0 pips on that one, which sounds amazing, but of course there's a commission.
Yeah, there's always a trade-off, isn't there? The raw account with those super tight spreads is definitely geared towards a particular kind of trader, someone who's probably into scalping or high-frequency trading, where even a fraction of a pip makes a huge difference. But have you looked into their swap fees for overnight positions?
To be honest, I haven't gotten that far yet.
It's worth checking out, especially if you think you might hold positions open for longer periods. Those swap fees can really add up and could even wipe out any gains you make from the tighter spreads. It all comes down to finding that sweet spot for your personal trading style.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. It's not just about the initial cost, but the overall cost of the trade, right?
Yeah.
It already seems a little more complex than they make it sound on their website.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And while we're on the topic of hidden costs, how about their execution model? Do you know if they're ECN or a dealing desk broker?
You know what? That's something I need to do more research on. What exactly does that mean for me as a trader?
Well, ECN, that generally means more transparency. Your orders are routed directly to the market. A dealing desk broker, on the other hand, they might have a bit more control over pricing, which sometimes translates to wider spreads or even requotes.
Okay. Wow. More and more to consider. This deep dive is already proving useful. So moving on to their platforms, they offer both MT4 and MT5. Like you said before, those seem to be the gold standard these days, right?
They really are. But the fact that Blueberry Markets offers both, that's pretty interesting. A lot of brokers just stick to one or the other. Now, MT4, with its MQL4 coding language, that's fantastic for automated trading, especially if you like to build your own custom indicators and robots. MT5, that one's a little newer. It has a much more advanced backtesting environment, so you can fine-tune your strategy against historical data and get really specific with it.
So it sounds like even though both platforms are pretty robust, MT4 might be the way to go for someone who's more of a DIY trader, while MT5 might be better suited for someone who wants to get really serious about backtesting and refining their strategies. I guess the choice depends on how deeply you want to dive into those aspects.
Exactly. It's not just about having the platform. It's about choosing the one that fits with your trading style and your preferred toolkit.
That makes sense. So let's imagine I've thought about all of this, and so far I'm thinking, okay, Blueberry Markets seems pretty good. But now I'm wondering about the practical side of things. How easy is it to actually get my money in and out? What kind of payment options do they offer?
It seems like they've got all the usual options. Bank transfers, credit cards, the e-wallets like Skrill and Neteller. That instant deposit feature is definitely a plus, and their withdrawal processing time of 1-3 business days is pretty standard.
Okay, so at least they're not lagging behind in terms of convenience. But what about security? This is my hard-earned money we're talking about. I know they're regulated by ASIC, right?
Right, and that's a big deal. ASIC is known for being a tough regulator. I mean, back in 2018, they went after one of the major banks for manipulating interest rates and slapped them with a massive fine. That kind of action really shows that they're serious about protecting investors.
Wow, that's a huge relief to hear. It really does make a difference knowing that there's a watchdog out there that's actually willing to bite.
Now, with ASIC, there's also the issue of leverage. They limit it to 30-to-1 for major currency pairs, and I know you mentioned that you're interested in Forex. So how do you feel about using leverage in your strategy?
To be honest, I'm still learning about leverage and how to use it responsibly. It's a bit intimidating.
Yeah, it's definitely something to approach with caution. Leverage can amplify both profits and losses, so it's crucial to understand the risks involved before you jump in. We can definitely talk more about that later on if you'd like.
That'd be great. So it sounds like Blueberry Markets has a regulatory backing and offers a decent range of leverage options. But what happens if I run into a problem? What's their customer support like?
Well, they offer live chat, email, and phone support, so pretty comprehensive. And from what I've heard, their customer service reps are known for being quite helpful, especially if you're a new trader.
Okay, so it seems they've covered all the bases there. So far, Blueberry Markets is looking pretty good. But something tells me there's still more to discover.
Oh, there always is. Remember, those shiny features, they're only part of the story. Let's keep exploring and see what else we can uncover.
So we've been digging a little deeper into Blueberry Markets, haven't we? And we've already uncovered some pretty interesting stuff, like those potential swap fees to keep in mind, the importance of their execution model, even those subtle differences between MT4 and MT5. What's catching your attention so far? As you're evaluating them, what's standing out to you?
Honestly, I'm realizing how much I just didn't know before. I was so focused on those low spreads and that low minimum deposit that, well, now I'm seeing those are just the tip of the iceberg, you know? It's kind of like a too good to be true scenario, right? Those flashy features, they're great for attracting new clients, but the real question is, do they actually deliver once you get past all the marketing?
That's exactly it. And that's why your insights are so valuable. Like when you brought up those swap fees, I wouldn't have even thought to look into that.
Yeah, swap fees are easy to overlook, but they can really make a difference, especially if you're a swing trader or a position trader, someone who holds trades for a longer time. It's often those smaller details that can make or break your trading experience.
It's almost like being a detective, trying to uncover all the hidden clues. So with all this talk about costs and fees, I'm curious, how does Blueberry Markets compare to other brokers in that area?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's hard to give a definitive answer without knowing your specific trading style and the volume you trade at. But let's say you're mainly focused on Forex and you're doing, I don't know, maybe 10 trades per day.
Yeah, that sounds about right for where I'm at right now.
Okay, so if you're doing that many trades, those $7 commissions on the raw account, they could start eating into your profits. You'd have to be pretty consistent about capturing enough picks to make up for those costs. Have you looked into any brokers that have like a tiered commission structure based on trading volume, you know?
No, I haven't seen anything like that. How does that usually work?
Well, with some brokers, they'll lower the commission you pay per trade if you hit a certain volume every month. So as your trading activity ramps up, your cost per trade goes down. If you're trading a lot, that could be a much more cost-effective option.
That's really interesting. I'm going to add that to my research checklist. I'm also really curious about that whole ECN versus dealing desk thing you mentioned earlier. Is there a way I can find out which one Blueberry Markets uses?
Sometimes they'll say it right there on their website, but often you have to dig a little deeper, check their FAQ section, maybe even contact their customer support directly. If they're really transparent, they should be upfront about their execution model.
And what are some red flags I should look out for?
Good question. Things like vague language or inconsistencies in how they explain things, or if they seem reluctant to answer your questions directly, those are all signs that they might not be totally transparent about how they operate.
So basically, trust my gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
Exactly. Now, another area we haven't really touched on yet is their educational resources. You know, a lot of brokers offer things like webinars, tutorials, market analysis, stuff like that, to help traders improve their skills. Have you come across anything like that on the Blueberry Markets platform?
You know, now that you mention it, I haven't. I've been so focused on the technical stuff like the platform features and fees that I completely forgot to check for that.
It's definitely something worth considering, especially when you're still learning the ropes. A good broker, they should want their clients to succeed, and providing educational tools is a big part of that. It's worth taking a look at what Blueberry Markets offers in that area.
That's a good point. Wouldn't want to miss out on any valuable learning opportunities. Okay, let's circle back to ASIC regulation for a second. It seems like they're a pretty strict regulator, which is good, but are there any downsides to being regulated by ASIC?
Well, one thing is that ASIC is known for being pretty risk-averse. They've put in place some quite strict leverage limits and margin requirements, which is good for protecting traders, but it can also be a bit limiting for more experienced traders who are comfortable managing higher levels of risk.
So it's a trade-off between security and freedom, in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. ASIC, their priority is client protection, which is great for building trust and confidence in the market. But it can also mean that traders have fewer options compared to some offshore jurisdictions where regulations are looser.
It's a delicate balance, for sure. Overall, though, it seems like Blueberry Markets is doing a pretty good job of finding that balance. But I have a feeling we're still just scratching the surface here. What else should we be thinking about?
Well, we've covered a lot of ground, but there are always more layers to peel back. One thing we haven't discussed is one of the things we haven't really talked about yet is something that's a bit more intangible, and that's their reputation, within the trading community. Have you had a chance to check out any trader forums or read any reviews to get a sense of what other traders are saying about blueberry markets?
You know what? That's a great point. I've been so focused on all the hard data, the fees, the platforms, regulations, all that I haven't really tapped into the word on the street, so to speak.
It can be really eye-opening, actually. Sometimes you'll find that certain themes keep popping up in the reviews. Maybe people consistently rave about their customer service, or maybe there are a lot of complaints about slow execution speeds, things like that. It gives you a glimpse into the real-life experiences of other traders, which can be really valuable.
So it sounds like I should treat those reviews as like anecdotal data points, not necessarily the absolute truth, but still important insights to consider.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about putting together the whole picture, right? We've gone through all the facts and figures, but those personal stories and experiences, they add a whole other dimension to your understanding.
It's kind of like reading online reviews when you're trying to choose a restaurant. Sometimes that star rating isn't enough. You need to actually read the comments to see what people really liked or disliked.
That's a perfect analogy. So thinking about everything we've talked about today, about blueberry markets, the good stuff, the potential downsides, what they offer, what they might be missing, what's your gut feeling telling you right now?
Honestly, I'm feeling a lot more informed, but also a little bit overwhelmed. There's so much to think about. I went into this thinking it was a simple yes or no decision, but now I realize it's much more complicated than that.
Yeah, that's trading for you. It's not black and white. There's no single best broker that's perfect for everyone. It's all about finding the right fit for you, for your trading style, how much risk you're comfortable with, and what you're ultimately hoping to achieve.
So what should I do next? Should I just open a demo account with Blueberry Markets and play around with it a bit?
That's definitely a good next step. A demo account lets you try out the platform, get a feel for their order execution, even practice your strategies with virtual money, so there's no risk. It's a great way to see what it's actually like to trade with them.
And while I'm doing that, I can also check out those trader forums and reviews you mentioned, see what other traders have to say. It's almost like getting a second opinion before making a big decision.
Exactly. And don't forget, you can always keep researching other brokers too. The more options you explore, the better equipped you'll be to make the right decision for you.
I'm starting to realize that this is more of a journey, not a race. There's no rush to make a decision today. The most important thing is that I'm doing my research and making sure I choose a broker that will be a good fit for me in the long run.
That's such an important point. This is your trading journey, your financial future. Don't let anyone pressure you into making a choice before you're ready. Take your time, gather all the information, trust your instincts, and most importantly, never stop learning.
This deep dive has been incredibly helpful. I feel like I've gone from blindly trusting marketing hype to actually understanding what to look for in a broker.
And that's exactly what we're here for, to empower you with the knowledge and the insights to make informed decisions. So as you keep exploring blueberry markets and the wider brokerage landscape, remember to keep asking those critical questions, keep digging deeper, and most importantly, stay curious and skeptical at the same time.
Thanks so much for walking me through all this. It feels great to be in control of my trading journey.
You're the one in the driver's seat. We're just here to provide the map and point out some interesting landmarks along the way.
Well, until next time, folks, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.